It's not funny. That's not funny at all. Because it's real. And that's me. Always me. So good evening, thank you all for coming, by the way. I brought some notes that I'm not like Jason, I'm not as focused as he is. I tend to digress and lead myself astray. So to drive straight, I brought some pointers. So I've done that race a few times, 5 times to be exact. I've actually won it, not as a skipper but as crew. I've also finished dead last as skipper. And I've been here and there, kind of in the middle between those 2 points, so I have some experience, good and better ones. And I've done that race, I've been really happy in it, and I've been really unhappy. And I've had crew that have told me that they were really happy at certain points and not quite as happy as other points. And so, this is my experience, and what I've learned from it, and maybe you can learn from it. Now, who here has never done Southern Straits? Come on, Miles.
With Alex.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I rescued you too. Okay, well, for those of you who have never done it, here is the truth. It's long, it's cold, it's long and cold. I don't like people that much, and you're going to be in very close quarters with a number of people. Some people do it single-handed, so they don't have that problem, but most people bring friends or victims or whoever they can find. And it can be challenging. And once you're in it, there's no going back. You're not going to turn back, after you've done half of it. I mean, yeah, you will, because after half of it, you're on your way back. But the bottom line is, you're going to have to make the best out of it. And there's a few things you can do to actually make it almost fun. Yeah. So I've only got 3 slides that are relevant, and only 3 pointers for you. And they're all really, really good. The first one is eat. Jason talked a little bit about eating and drinking constantly, and I know there's a... What yours is about boat prep or crew prep? Boat prep, right? Sure? Boat prep, okay. So this is your crew prep right here. Eat. You're going to have to eat. You can't not eat for 24 hours. It's insane. It's going to get cold and wet. You will want to eat. But as Jason pointed out, you tend to, you're so busy, you tend to lose your appetite. You've got other things on your mind, and the situation is unusual for most of us. You're going to be at night in the middle of nowhere. You won't lose yourself, but you won't be sure where you are. And you'll stop caring. It won't be just like, I'm here, I'm more or less in the right direction, this is good enough. Eat. And to make eating easy, because you don't have your fancy kitchen, your nice fridge, your great stove, your microwave, none of that. I mean, maybe your boat is nicer than mine. In fact, it probably is. But that's my boat, by the way. That's the stove right there, the single burner alcohol contraption that can literally burn everything. So, a few pointers that I've learned, a few things that I've learned over the years. First, a thermos is a great invention. You can prepare coffee or tea or whatever your poison of choice is in advance, and you can serve it, and literally it'll keep your stuff warm for 24 hours. So that's where I would start. Last year I also had soup in thermoses, and that worked out really well, because as Jason said, it was actually quite windy going to Sisters, and it was kind of nice to eat something warm along the way there, and it wasn't easy to free up hands to go down and fire up the stove and make lasagna or whatever. Hot food. I have on this, the ultimate guide how to do it, okay? It's super easy. First, make it in advance. Because if you think you're going to whip up culinary delights in the middle of the strait, you're deluded. It's true. I know someone who has tried. On this stove too. The second thing is, heat it up. Because yes, it's fine to prepare stuff in advance, but eating your pasta or lasagna cold is no fun. It's already cold, it's already wet, it's already cold and wet, we've covered that, right? So it's 5 o'clock and you haven't eaten since breakfast, which was long before the start of the race, because there was still a race that time, right? So long before then you had your breakfast and the last piece of warm food, you're going to want something warm. So heat it up. If you're not sure to do this, practice. go sail in the bay there and start using the stove. Try to figure out the challenges that come with that. Is it gimbal? Does the oven work? Do you have fuel, alcohol, gas, propane, whatever you need? You want to check that out too. But heat it up. It makes way more sense than cold, not reheated stuff. And what I found to be the big winner is to make it easy to prepare and serve. If you need a knife and a fork, you're losing it. Like it's not going to work. You'll be on the rail trying to eat something with a knife and a fork, and there's nowhere to put the plate. No, that's dumb. In fact, that's dumb. So the way I do it is that I prepare something that's edible easily in a beer cup. You all know what a beer cup looks like. They're cheap. You can buy 100 at Costco or whatever for next to nothing. And when you're done, people are gonna throw stuff at me for saying this, but you can just throw it away in a plastic bag and it winds up in the landfill and it's great. So yeah, I actually usually the way I do this is that I prepare something for the entire crew. I know some people have special dietary needs and things they don't want to eat and things they really want to eat. That's kind of their problem. But I'm going to provide one big meal for everyone, right? And I make sure it's easily served in a beer can and edible easily with a fork or a spoon. Forget knife, that gets too complicated. And if you have a barbecue, it's nice, you can make hot dogs and stuff like that. That's an option, obviously, right? But something you can reheat and serve easily, that's the ultimate how-to guide to hot food. And then snacking. This is the one weekend of the year, apart from Christmas, we can snack all day and all night, and no one is going to say anything. In fact, they'll encourage you and they'll have a snack with you. If you feel hungry, eat. If you want something, eat. I bring things like apples and candy bars. You can buy a pack of 64 or even 100 Mars bars from the old Costco or whatever. They're super easy to eat. You can pass them around. When you go down, bring them out to your friends. And I have one simple rule on my boat, which is if you go down to make coffee, don't make it just for yourself. There's 6 other people or 5 other people outside freezing their asses off while you're inside, eating your hands on the stove, you know. No, make it for everyone. Make it worthwhile. And then drinking, in case you forgot. It's a boat, you will be drinking. Now, there's various ways of doing this. You can drink alcohol, less alcohol, no alcohol. That's kind of up to you. We have wine over dinner on my boat, because it's the civilized thing to do. Not too much, just enough to keep the crew happy and make them forget for 10 minutes that they're in the middle of nowhere and I may not know where I am any more than they do. So. And then water. Water's not a joke. I went on a boat once where the skipper tried to conserve weight by bringing less water and it turned out to be no water. I thought I was stupid, so there's regulations around how much water you have to bring and how much water you have to bring back after the race. I suggest you follow them. That's what I do. Any questions on eating? You've all done it before. So. Sleep. Sleep is this crazy thing to do on the boat at night, especially when it's moving. There's 3 phases of overnight racing sleep. The first one is I can't sleep. You're going to want to go down about 7, first shift or whatever. You won't be able to sleep. You'll be tossing, turning, there'll be winches grinding, it's going to be noisy. If your boat is as fancy as mine, it's a big loft with 0 comfort, so it's just like being in a box that someone's banging on every time they walk. It's completely senseless, and I appreciate that. But that's phase 1. The next phase is, when do I go to sleep? A couple of people have gone to sleep, it's dark, it's cold and wet, we've covered that a couple of times now. At that point you really want to sleep, you want the downtime, even if you can't sleep and if it's not comfortable, you're thinking that right at that moment it's 10 o'clock, maybe midnight, it'd be a really good idea to go down, rest your bones, it'll be nice and warm and you won't have to do anything, right? So that's kind of good at that point. If your turn comes then you're in the right spot, right? And then the third phase is, I just had the best sleep. Because when you go down at 2 in the morning, you're exhausted, you don't want to talk to anyone, you're grumpy, you've eaten all the snacks you could eat, you've even probably tested the head. At that point, you're ready, you will sleep well, the winches will be grinding all night, you will want to start the engine to charge the batteries just to cover the noise, the ambient noise from all that stuff. But the moral of the story is, it's necessary, you're going to have to, right? Planning and execution. I'm a management consultant, so that's my favorite piece of bullshit bingo. I'm good at that. I've got four things. The first one is plan some schedule. As Jason said, if you get a chance to go down and catch some Z's, do it. But a bit of planning also means that there can be enough people still on the boat to sail the boat, as opposed to 8 people in the cabin and not really anyone in charge anymore, right? So if you can plan some kind of schedule and some kind of shifts around sleep or around sailing, which will result in people sleeping, you can do it vice versa, but make some kind of a plan. If you have to charge batteries, do it before going to sleep. Most people like it better that way. Like I said, I don't mind the engine running when I'm downstairs, but it's kind of unpleasant when this thing just vibrates and shakes and stinks like whatever when you're sleeping. So, charge them at like 5 and then you're all set for the night. Keep the cabin comfortable. That one's challenging. My boat isn't very comfortable. It's sort of bare minimum comfort. And it's very easy to get water inside. Once it's inside, it's not leaving. Like it's there until the end of the race. There's no heater and nothing, right? So try to keep things dry. Try to keep the cabin comfortable. If you're wearing a ton of weight gear, if you're gonna drop it, and take it off in an area that doesn't, qualify as a bed, for example, because then that won't dry. Like someone will be sleeping in that. And then plan things like blankets, sleeping bags, like who's going to be sleeping, in what and where. You may not want to sleep in someone else's sleeping bag, or I don't know, that's kind of up to you, but try to make a plan around that. And the last point I have is get it while you can. As Jason said, if you get a chance to sleep, just, if it gets really soft, just go for an hour or something, go for a rest. But if you've never done it, the first time is a bit of an experience. It's a little different. And my last slide, I know already, sniff. How to keep the motivation going, crew morale. The race is long. It's not like you go around the bay, for a couple hours, and you go around the buoys, and then you have a few beers, and you're with friends, and you go home at night, you come to the lounge, it's warm, there's a fireplace. It doesn't quite work that way, right? And you're gonna go through all these phases. I can promise you that. Things are gonna be great, things are gonna be not so good. It's gonna be really windy, it's gonna be dead. You're gonna get fed up, potentially. Everyone might get fed up all at the same time. So there's gonna be phases, for everyone, and not everyone gets tired at the same time, and is a happy person at the same time. Different things make different people grumpy for different reasons. So it's actually hard, especially as a skipper, to keep everyone going and then to keep everyone engaged, right? So I've got a few pointers for each one of these things. When things are going great, people are happy and typically they're very engaged in the race, right? So rotate the crew. People are gonna get tired. They're gonna get tired like trimming the kite or trimming sails and driving, and they'll lose focus. They'll start sailing like I do, which is it's kind of hard to describe actually. But yeah, rotate crew, engage people, make sure they get fed, make sure they're engaged in the race. It's a race, you probably want to do well. I know I do. And try to create opportunities for the crew. Maybe, the guys that have been on the boat their entire lives, maybe they want to try something else, or, just maybe have them help train or work on something else. I don't know. It's kind of up to them, but try to keep everyone engaged, right? When things are going not so great, you may have to break out the secret weapon. But I'm going to save that for the next one. But it's a great time to engage the rest of the team, because when things are not so great, it means that a couple of people are getting grumpy, but the rest of the crew is happy, right? So engage everyone together. Bring up the buddy system, pair people together, so people who are going to work well together, so they can engage each other, in the task that they're working on, or the piece of the race that you're in, maybe going upwind, downwind. You may have maneuvers to do. Or you may have no maneuvers. You may be on one tack for 6 hours and there's a bunch of guys on the rail and they're, they're not really engaged, they're kind of fed up, you find. Maybe even cold. When there's no wind, then you have no choice. Taylor Swift. On the 2015 Van Isle, we went, me and some friends and mostly crazy people, we went on the restaurant Van Isle in a 31-foot boat. And on day 2, we realized that it wasn't a knife to a gunfight that we brought. We brought a spoon to a nuclear conflagration. And it was challenging, and I thought I was heavy, and I realized that I wasn't heavy at all. In fact, I made no difference in this thing. But after a really tough start and a few years of sailing, we wanted to be the boat that sailed itself in the only lull that day in the area. I don't know how we did it, but we were there for hours, right? And somebody had the genial idea of playing a Taylor Swift song, and I've bought it since, and I know it's bad, and this is actually a snippet from the video of this. So we decided it was going to be our wind song. And so we played it maybe 8 times or something, and then the wind picked up, and then it picked up uncontrollably for us, and we kind of finished the race teetering on the brink of destruction. So it was kind of funny, but that's how I started listening to Taylor Swift. The point I'm trying to make here is that there was no wind, and all the boats around us, including the ones that were behind us, whether they were slower or faster by design, they all passed us, like we were stalled. We were literally at the bus stop, and all the buses went by, they blew the horn, and flipped the bird, and we were just there, like idiots, you know, and the weather was nice, that was the only redeeming quality of that day. But it was a great way to keep the crew amused and engaged, and just kind of rallied, you know, and it was a total fluke because no one expected Taylor Swift to have that, you know, quality, at least around a bunch of guys. So, although, who knows. But when there's no wind, the other thing is that it's not the end of the race, it's a reset. The fleet's going to compress. When you're stopping, a bunch of other people are stopping too, especially at Straits. There's 100 or 120 boats engaged, right? So when you're in the middle of nowhere going nowhere, chances are you're not alone. So that thought alone really helps. But Taylor Swift is like just a rallying cry. So I highly recommend it. Just keep one on your phone, keep the stereo charged, and go for it. And then when there's no wind, get some sleep, eat, I don't know, do things you wouldn't normally do. Things that are difficult to do when it's really windy, like using the stove. So it's more challenging. When there's too much wind, blame Taylor Swift. Just stop playing it. At that point, you won't be thinking of Taylor Swift. You'll be thinking of how do you get organized for it, how do you make things work. Gear up the crew, you're going to want to send the crew one at a time, 2 at a time, right? But you have to have a plan for that kind of stuff. Otherwise, people are going to get demotivated, and confusion is going to be the #1 enemy, right? When it gets cold, everyone's going to want to go in and get geared up. Well, gearing up when it's cold and in this condition is not going to take like the 3 minutes you would take to go to your bedroom and get a few more clothes. No, it's going to take 15-20 minutes ahead, right? So if you have to gear up 6 people, it's going to take an hour, unless you have a really big boat, like Steven. I have a small boat, so I don't have that problem. So yeah, have a plan for that as well, but make sure you blame Taylor Swift. And then when there's too much wind, or if you feel overpowered, you have to keep in mind, you're going to be sailing in this for a few hours, potentially a whole night or a whole day, or this is not the next 20 minutes, it could be hours. And it's not like you can just choose to go home, because even going home is going to be in this condition. So just think about that, make sure you plan for that. When you had it, you absolutely have to play Taylor Swift. That's your rallying cry. You got to motivate the crew. You're fed up. It doesn't mean everyone around you should be fed up. You have to make sure you've had an air of contribution for everyone. Everyone has to be engaged. You have to keep the crew engaged even more than ever at that point, right? Identify some kind of opportunity, something to do for everyone, something to keep the boat fast, keep the race going. It's not very difficult. Just look at your trim, just look at where your boat is going. Are you going the right direction? Is your boat moving? Is it trimmed properly? And is there something that you could be doing that would make the cruise life better? Like, is it time to make some coffee or pass some stuff around, you know, hot snacks or whatever? Try it out. At that point, I always deploy the buddy system. I always pair people. And the people that were paired maybe overnight, I might pair them differently during the day. Just so that, because people work in different ways, and I might think they can do better with different arrangements. And then when someone's had it, it's important to start checking on people, because people may start dropping like flies, and they may be seasick, or you may be losing your crew members at that point. Not necessarily off the boat, although sometimes it's tempting, but you may be losing them as effective crew, right? So it's, at that point, it's even more important than ever to actually resurrect the engagement. When everyone's had it, Taylor Swift it is, you have nothing to lose. You may as well just play a couple of those. After you've had 3.5 minutes of laugh with Taylor Swift, Find the root cause. Is there one, can you narrow down to one or two or three single events that all of a sudden made everyone's life miserable, right? Because that is possible. You could, on Straits, I think it was 3 years ago, he started hailing in the morning. Well, there's nothing worse. That sucks, right? But it's not the end of the world. Hail doesn't last very long typically. And then after that, everyone's kind of happy because they have a good story to tell when they get home. Be with the Straits, see the hail, the weather was miserable. They come home, they feel like they're heroes or other delusions that they have. But there could be a root cause of some sort. Like for example, the boat could have been slow for a long time, or it could have had a really rough night, or someone could be really sick and it's making other people sick. Or a couple of years ago, I had diesel leak in my bilge. It's just, you couldn't use the inside of the boat anymore, right? It's just awful because it smells. So, that's the root cause. I have to fix it. If I can fix that, everyone will be happy, right? Even if I only fix it partially, they'll be happy because it'll be an improvement for everyone, right? So if you can narrow down what's going on, the underlying current, and address it, it'll make a big difference to your crew. And and remember, it's for fun. This is not the America's Cup. When you win this race, you win a flag. If you're really lucky, maybe a pickle dish. Maybe. So I've got. Any questions?
How big is your boat?
It depends. It's 31 feet. It's the one with the spinnaker in the first. So I have you guys hostages here. I'm still looking for a crew member for Straits. So we've done this once. We got caught on camera. We don't do this again. Thank you. Oh,
For reference, what song should we be?
This one's called Ours, but you have many options. She's got whole albums out there, different things going on. But this one's like a country-like song. It's kind of funny in the middle of the strait. It's just, there's this weird undertone to it. I highly recommend it.